and welcome to Council Watch. We've had a video where the council did some good. Today I thought we'd talk about the Lowestoft Town Hall project. I wasn't going to actually, because it's a long-term thing and there's no point really getting sort of a bit miffed or cross about anything they say as they go along. But something popped up and I thought I would just make a few comments. I've already been told that I got it completely wrong. Well, there we go. That's what I, as a member of the public, understood. So perhaps I have, perhaps I haven't. You have to make your own mind up. But essentially, part of the deal with the Town Hall project was that they were going to have a cafe. And they ummed and ahed a few times about whether they should run the cafe themselves. So it would be a Lowestoft Town Council cafe. Or whether they should perhaps just let it out and let somebody else run it. And that sort of train of thought has flipped about a few times over the meetings. But in this particular meeting, this is what happened.
So what I've now done is turned my attention to the cafe operation in terms of the financial implications of it. I have previously been looking at what works best for the town hall in terms of how that operation could and should be run and whether it's run in-house or not. But actually, as I've noted in my report, if the council is minded to continue with its current remuneration policies around living wage and the local government pension, living wage less so, but local government pension scheme, then it's not feasible to run the cafe with directly employed staff.
Now, it doesn't matter that it hasn't gone to full council for approval. It doesn't matter that it wasn't even approved by this meeting. The Town Hall project manager says that running the cafe under the scheme that's in existence is not feasible. In actual fact, her reasons are extremely good ones. Local government have a really good pension scheme, which costs the employer a fair bit. It's always been like that. It was like that back, when Waveney District Council were in the town hall, and the staff who worked there got a decent pension. That's the civil service for you, but they got a decent pension. There's also a current way of feeling is that councils should not be paying minimum wage to employees. They should pay them at least the living wage. I think it's about 12 quid an hour, is it? Something like that. So realistically, what we actually have is an in-house policy. I think they did some work with people who work out in the parks and things like that. And those people were given the proper pension and they were given the living wage. And they've sort of applied that across the board. It's been mentioned in some of the meetings, and that was the cunning plan for the cafe. The staff would be paid the living wage, they would be in the council's pension scheme, and now they've done the sums on this, it doesn't make it viable. Now, a typical cafe is likely to be paying people minimum wage, and maybe a bit more if someone's a supervisor or takes on responsibilities, that sort of thing. But essentially, cafes are staffed by non-particularly skilled people, paid at the lower limits, and they don't have anything more than any basic pension requirement. And on 0 hours contracts, of course, if there's no hours, there's no money. Now, the council didn't want to do that, to their credit, but the trouble is they can't afford to do it. So the Town Hall project manager says it's not viable. And I don't think anybody can argue with her because she's done the figures. I don't know why I was told I got that wrong, but, perhaps I didn't word it very well in social media. But essentially, it looks like the project is scrapped from the point of view of the council running it themselves. Obviously, if they let it out to someone on a simple lease, what they pay their staff is nothing to do with the town hall. So they get round it that way. But essentially, I think they wanted to run it themselves, but it didn't work.
Yeah, I think that's part of the issue with a directly run cafe. There are other issues as well, I think. And I think also, I think that because we made a policy decision as a council when we brought the ground maintenance in-house that we were not going to have two-tier staffing terms and conditions, like all staff would, have the same holiday entitlement. All staff would have access to the LGPS. All staff would be national minimum living wage. We also don't quite know what's going to happen nationally with legislation on 0 hours contracts. That would be another driving thing, even if we were minded to offer them, which I think some councillors certainly would have a thing to say about 0 hours contracts anyway, probably myself included. And so I think there are pros and cons to everything, we know. So we definitely need some advice there on the pros and cons with recommendations, so we know where we're going. But if we were to do it in-house on different terms and conditions, that would require a policy shift by the town council.
And he summed it up quite well, I thought. If they actually want to run it themselves, they've got to change this policy they've got. And they don't want to do that. And that's a good idea, But the snag, of course, is that you basically just shift the problem to whichever tenant you get who is going to run the cafe. So, you can hold your hands up and say, oh, it's nothing to do with us. We would have paid them more. But, of course, anybody would be hard pressed to get a policy of let's run an unviable cafe through any of the committees, and certainly full council. Someone's going to say, so you want us to open a cafe and lose money? I mean, nobody, even some of the people on the council, are not that daft, are they? I hope not. So running the cafe themselves isn't viable. So the alternative solution, of course, is then just to rent it out. Someone will take over the cafe, get some staff and run it, and they'll just take the rent. Nothing really wrong with that, I suppose, but not particularly nice to the existing cafe that's just down the road. And the fella who runs that had no idea the council were intending to open a cafe. Well, it was in all the meetings, but of course most people don't watch council meetings because they're interminably boring. So he missed totally that the town hall was going to have an opposition perspective to his business. And Wendy goes to that cafe. She mentioned it in one of the other meetings. So Wendy goes to the other cafe and she actually said, it's really good. It's got good food, good drink, really nice people, good atmosphere. It's a really nice business. So the council are actually going to get somebody else outside to come and run it. They could offer it to him, I suppose. That might be nice, might it? So what have we got? Well, we've got a scheme that the expert says isn't viable. It seems to be accepted by some of the other members on that committee. So let's leave the town hall project there. No doubt these things will settle down over the months. We'll have to wait and see. See you on the next video. Look after yourselves. Take care.
Thank you.